We'll move to wide receivers. A little love for the pass catchers here. And, of course, we start with somebody that we've kicked around as a top 3 pick in Justin Jefferson here, Jay, who at times you said you might consider taking him first or second overall.
Yeah, I think McCarthy going down hurts a little bit just because you're one snap away from Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall, which isn't ideal. But at the same time, Sam Darnold can stay healthy. I think Darnold will do enough to just get Jefferson the ball. We forget that Justin Jefferson 2 years ago, Offensive Player of the Year. The year before that, absolutely elite again and an amazing rookie season too. I just think that Jefferson is the most talented wide receiver in the game when you consider the risks with Tyreek Hill's age. And I think that it's perhaps been a little bit forgotten because of the time that he missed last season. When, by the way, last season per game, he was an absolute monster again.
By the way, not just the Hill age, but also the fact that CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase are not currently in camp, right? And there's, when you miss practice time, even if they are back in time for the season, there's concern of injury there as well. You mentioned Nick Mullins. Dude, in the 4 games with Nick Mullins last year, 22.1 fantasy points per game. Like, Vikings fans don't want to see Nick Mullins, but for Justin Jefferson purposes, it'd be fine. He's on the love list not because it's like he's obviously a first rounder, but I'm as a top 5 player. I think you can talk about him as a top 4 overall player, and I've seen him go I've got 7, 8, 9 on a lot of different drafts. So he's on the love list because of where he's going in the first round, where a difference between 3 or 4 overall versus 7, 8, or 9 overall is a massive difference.
Drake London also makes the love list. We also talked about him a lot this week as a big breakout candidate. Real quickly, Matthew, is he on the ride or die shortlist right now?
He's on the ride or die shortlist as well. We've talked about what Zach Robinson, the new offensive coordinator of the Falcons, can do on the Rams staff from 2019 to 2013. Rams second in wide receiver target share and 4th in wide receiver fantasy points with Zach Robinson on their staff. Kirk Cousins has supported a top 10 wide receiver 5 of 6 seasons at Minnesota. He finds a guy, he locks into him. And so Drake London, who went ahead, he was drafted ahead of guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, guys that we think are really talented. And no one at the time was like really, Drake London?
Right.
Like, this is somebody that just, because of the play calling of Arthur Smith and the quarterback play of Mariota, Ritter, Heineke, just hasn't been able to get the ball consistently. With Zach Robinson calling the plays and Kirk Cousins throwing the ball, or even Michael Penix, he will get the looks.
Your man Cooper Kupp on the love list, Jay. Wide receiver 18 for Matthew. An Yahoo ADP right now right around 35. Once upon a time a fantasy legend. It's been a good summer for Cooper Kupp.
It has, by all accounts. He's fully healthy. And here's the thing with Kupp. So the last 10 games of the season for Puka Nacua last year, you know how many times Puka had more than 5 receptions in a game? Once. Once in the final 10 games. In the final 10 games, he only saw double-digit targets once as well. Kupp had the same target share on the field when Puka was also on the field. And that was with Kupp dealing with the hamstring injury early in the season. He dealt with a badly sprained ankle. I think there is a very real chance that Cooper Kupp just has a better season, full stop, this year than Puka Nacua, and he ends up as being worth a second-round pick, certainly.
And that's honestly the point, right? Is that straight up, you can easily make an argument for Cooper Kupp over Puka Nacua, straight up. But it's not going to cost. Kupp's going 2 to 3 rounds after Nacua.
Yeah. Right after Kupp is Malik Nabers, wide receiver 19. We said it earlier in the week. The Giants didn't have a single player see 80-plus targets last year, Matthew. That is going to change with Malik Nabers in town.
Malik Nabers is one of these guys like, hey, Daniel Jones, just get it somewhere within the zip code of Malik Nabers, and he's coming down with it. He's just a special player. We've talked about this, Connor. I think in any year where Marvin Harrison wasn't drafted, he'd have been your number 1 wide receiver.
Right, absolutely, and a lot of teams would have taken him over Marvin Harrison Jr. It's just the way the draft shakes out that Arizona liked him. Different players, both spectacular. Nabers is so explosive. Brian Dable is going to know how to use this guy inside, outside. The manufactured touchers will be there, too, if you need any more confidence in the situation.
Since 2018, all 5 wide receivers drafted inside the top 10 overall in the NFL draft saw at least 100 targets in the rookie season, including Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson. They all finished as top 24 wide receivers. Monster year coming for Malik Nabers.
We move on to Rashee Rice at wide receiver.
Also on the short list for ride or die.
Ooh, rookie making the cut. We'll see how that shakes out in just a minute. Rashee Rice, wide receiver 25, Jay. You said this perfectly the other day. This is Patrick Mahomes' number 1 wide receiver.
Yep, and just the rapport between the two of them clearly grew over the course of the season. I feel like Rashee Rice is a rookie. Like, this is year 2. He's going to get better. He's going to take a leap. The final 10 games of the year for the Chiefs, when you include the playoffs, Rashee Rice had 8+ targets in 8 of those games. And I just think that if you're getting 8 targets consistently from Patrick Mahomes, then you have huge top 10, top 12 wide receiver upside. When you combine that with the expected skill development, the fact that this offense is just going to be better overall, I think there are real worlds where Rashee Rice ends as a top 10 wide receiver.
22 red zone targets last year, 7th among wide receivers. He had multiple red zone targets in 4 of his final games, talking about that, how that ended the season. I talked to Andy Reid at the Combine, and I asked him specifically about Rashee Rice, and he said once it clicked in for him, once Rashee Rice learned to go inside and basically learn the same routes as Travis Kelce, that unlocked everything because they started out him outside. And so just now teams don't know what to do because Rice and Kelce sometimes would literally run the same route. So I'm not worried about the suspension. Just it's in the back of your mind, but I think there's a chance that he doesn't get suspended until next year, if that even happens.
We look at 2 tight ends here. Trey McBride comes in as tight end 3, and Jay, this was just a huge year for Trey McBride. And he didn't have Kyler Murray the whole year. You would think with Kyler Murray back, ready to roll, that McBride should only get even better in this offense.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the most fantasy-friendly environments in terms of an offense, just between the fact that expecting that the Cardinals, whose win total is around 7, the 6.5 to 7.5 range, that they're going to be throwing a ton. It was an offense that is explosive, and it's an offense that is just clearly geared towards Marvin Harrison and then Trey McBride. And so there's going to be a lot of targets up for grabs, and McBride has got that rapport with Murray.
There's a scenario where he's the number 1 tight end in fantasy a year from now, right? That is well within the range of outcomes. Every game he played with Kyler Murray last year, at least a 20% target share.
How about Jake Ferguson, Matthew? He's the other tight end on the love list here at tight end 8.
Yeah, I mean, again, you just none of this is that tough. You're just sort of looking at situations where players are going to get a lot of looks and they're talented. Jake Ferguson, other than CeeDee Lamb, who, by the way, again, there's contract issues there. There's not much else for Dak Prescott, who is going to be one of the pass-heaviest quarterbacks in the NFL. No tight end had more red zone targets than Jake Ferguson last year. Top 3 in the NFL in routes run at the position. Top 4 in most slot targets among tight ends as well. And so saw over 100 targets last year, kind of a breakout year for him. They didn't add anything to the pass catchers. Forget the position, just pass catchers. The running back room isn't kind of bare as well. Like, we think Dallas is going to have one of the best offenses in the NFL, and it's going to be CeeDee Lamb, my guy Yates, and Jake Ferguson. And at the moment, it might just be Jake Ferguson.
It could very well be.
Like, who knows?
The Fresh Prince meme, just him standing around the room empty.
1,000%. But he's going late. It's like a late round. Sorry, he's going towards the end of the top 10 among tight ends, and he could easily be a top 5 fantasy tight end. Sorry.
Let's look at the other pass catchers receiving votes. Tank Dell, wide receiver 26. Christian Kirk, a floor target, wide receiver 30. Deontay Johnson, wide receiver 35. Xavier Worthy, wide receiver 38. DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 39. Jamison Williams, wide receiver 46. Josh Palmer could be the number 1 wide receiver for Justin Herbert at wide receiver 51. Pat Freiermuth at tight end 13. Denny Carter's ride or die suggestion, Taysom Hill at tight end 18. Noah Fant at tight end 20. Jay, what stands out to you on this list?
You mentioned him, Josh Palmer. I just think the fact there's a general rule in life when the guy who's favored to be Justin Herbert's number 1 wide receiver, he has to be taken in the top 50 wide receivers in fantasy. I just think there's this idea that they're just never going to throw the ball in LA. Like, they're going to have to throw the ball at some point. Yeah, and Josh Palmer, I think, is the best candidate to be Herbert's number 1. You can make a case, I guess, for Ladd McConkey, but I think that Palmer is the safest bet, and thus he should be going as a top 45 wide receiver at least.
Yeah, I think Bryce Young takes a big step this year. Obviously, the addition of Canales, the better offensive line, the other weapons around it. But they've talked about the fact that Deontay Johnson is going to be the focal point of this offense. Very good wide receiver, and so he's just – I think people have been disappointed by the years in Pittsburgh, but anytime you hear a coach saying, like, yeah, he's the focal point of our offense, give me Deontay Johnson. And DeAndre Hopkins, I'll just say, listen, DeAndre Hopkins is one of my favorite players in the NFL, but only 3 players last year had more deep targets last year than DeAndre Hopkins. Once Will Levis came into the starting lineup, like, he was just chucking it deep to Hop. And I think because he's an older player and, he's banged up, like, people are forgetting about him. But, like, DeAndre Hopkins is going to get deep targets on one of the I think it's going to be one of the pass-heavier teams in the NFL under Will Levis, who has this cannon of an arm. And so the price for DeAndre Hopkins is so cheap. And, like, do you think he has one more good year in him? I do.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.